All right, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Dylan's podcast. Now also on video because I'm recording these on video as well as audio just to try and get this in front of more people. If you've been following along for the last bunch of years to Dylan's podcast, thank you very much. A couple hundred episodes, thousands and thousands of listens, and have met hundreds of folks, which has been awesome. I've decided, given the portfolio businesses that I'm responsible for and what I'm working on, that I would up my game to challenge myself to do a better job at marketing all of our businesses. And I've decided to take a little bit of a different approach with Dylan's podcast. It was always designed for me to share my thoughts in hopes that it would help another entrepreneur. I'm going to press the envelope a little bit more and look to actually share more specific details. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the frustrating stuff, the stressful stuff, the wins, the losses, and just looking to share my story because I find that I am finding that storytelling is the best way to connect with the right people that you want to connect with. And I'm just at a point now in my life and in my career where I don't really have anything to prove. I'm just looking to support my family, have an honest living, give people some work, and try to do all that I can with everything that I've been blessed with. And so me upping my game and sharing more details of what's going on in my life is sort of like I think this is going to be like self-induced therapy, and you guys all get to follow along as I do this. So I'm actually really excited. Something cool about watching what other people have done. I think I've got a little bit of a unique hook that I can put on it, which is great. And that unique hook, in fact, is just doing this a couple of times a week, going through my Twitter feed of the tweets that I have posted and just sort of walking you through what I was thinking about when I did that. And so you will get the most out of this experience if you follow me on Twitter. I'm at Dylan Gallagher. I also post on LinkedIn. It's not quite as candid as it is on Twitter, different audiences, different mediums. And so there's just different thoughts that I post in each place. But jump onto Twitter. Let's connect. Be happy to interact with you there. But if you're listening to the podcast, what you won't be able to catch is that I'm screen sharing my Twitter account so that I can read back the last, 3 or 4 tweets and just break down what I was thinking about what was going on when I did that in hopes of sharing, again, my story and what I'm working on. So I'm going to get into it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try and share the first tweet here. And I look forward to sort of seeing what happens. I'm going to commit to doing this a couple times a week. And by doing it a couple times a week, hopefully it just becomes a regular habit for me. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I seem to think that my kids might want to watch this one day, understand what their great-grandfather was up to when it was April of 2022. What was he doing? So anyway, let's get into it. The first tweet is from just a couple of hours ago. And the tweet was, over the past weeks, I've been making steps towards clarifying and revisiting my long-term goals, short-term objectives, having hard conversations, which I'd rather get out of the way instead of allowing the status quo to remain. It's better to move forward than to stand still. And then I just said, do you agree? Kind of where this came from, or where this is coming from, is there's a general theme going on in my life right now, which is COVID's done. I've done the best job that I can with what I've been given to stabilize, cash flow, balance sheets, all that sort of stuff. So we've got these really great opportunities in our portfolio. I'm referring to Bridge Capital's portfolio. So that's owned by Lisa and myself. And now we just want to do more with it. We want to leverage it. We want to try and get as much value out of it as we can now that the world doesn't appear to be on fire in the same way that it has been over the last couple of years. So that has meant having, in the past couple of weeks in particular, some difficult conversations with folks that I'm involved with as either colleagues or partners, and trying to force things through an intersection. That's kind of been my big saying right now, is we just got to get this through the intersection because I think we're stalled out. And I've been around long enough to know that you're either growing and doing something meaningful every day, or you're slowly atrophying. Business is an interesting dynamic in that you really can't stand still. And even if your business doesn't atrophy, I think as an entrepreneur, you do. And I have been blessed to know dozens of really successful entrepreneurs that have had massive, massive exits. And I can just see the same pattern repeating itself. And when you rest on your laurels for too long, then you start to atrophy as a person. Your brain's not quite as active, your body's not quite as active, but your businesses can atrophy as well. And then ultimately all that work and effort that you put into something doesn't doesn't go on, doesn't do anything more than that. And so kind of living through this moment right now where there are conversations I've not had. I can be pretty A-type personality and like, let's just get it out of the way. Let's take the punch in the face. Let's move on. I don't like things hanging in the air. And so there's a couple of decisions that I have to make with the businesses I'm involved in right now, just to sort of say, hey, how do we move through this intersection? What do we do to make sure that selfishly Dylan's time is being really well used? Because managing the status quo, I don't find it interesting anymore. It's not producing more value. I could spend X amount of more hours on two of these opportunities in particular and not get the corresponding return unless I make some very big decisions. But in order to do that, I've got to do it hand in hand with the team that works with me, because they do a great job running these businesses. I don't know the particulars of our business. The teams every day run these businesses. And so my job now as the leader is to work with them to figure out how can we do more with what we have, if they even want to. I do view myself as a servant leader. So for me, it's not a top-down exercise, it's bottom-up. I have a particular set of skills that I try to employ every single day, some better than others. And with these two businesses in particular, I would just like to see some motion, and I'd like to see them get somewhere further than where they are right now. But to do that, it's going to require just getting everyone on the same page. So I have been revisiting sort of my my long-term goals, my short-term objectives, and then just hitting some of these conversations head on. As a matter of fact, just a couple hours ago, I spoke with one of my colleagues to get a handle on where he's at. And throughout the rest of the week, I'm doing the same thing with the rest of my team members individually, and then bringing everyone together as a group so that we can all look at each other in the eyes and go, okay, let's go. Dylan, here's what you can help us with, and here's what we're going to do. And collectively, we're all going to do something more meaningful or not. And that's an okay outcome as well. So that's what I was thinking when I wrote that tweet. I'm sure as an entrepreneur, there's probably a little bit of you that resonates with as well. You know, the status quo is okay. It's okay to settle. But for me, I just find it disengaging. I enjoy the intellectual challenge and the rigor and the struggle that comes from trying to do hard things, which is why I've launched 2 startups with Lisa. We have an on-demand temp casual labor business, and then we have an online business valuation platform. And these are startups. These are not existing businesses that are mature, that are doing well. So I've got 2 very mature businesses and 2 brand new businesses in between these 4. It's interesting, but I get up every day to face the challenge, because that's what gets me out of bed and gets me engaged. And the truth is, I got like a whole pack of kids, and I've got to provide. That's my goal. Got to make sure that that I'm leading by example, that they can see what I'm doing every day, and that hopefully encourages them to pursue their own dreams, pursue their own things, and if we get a chance to connect, I can share with you what that means. But in the one business, I get to work with my son. Him and I built this thing together, built the technology together, which has been very cool. And I don't know whether he'll continue with it. I don't know that I want to keep him in the fold. It would be great for him to go out and do his own thing and then maybe come back later. But anyway, that's what I was thinking about when I wrote that particular tweet. The next one this one's a little bit more specific. It was reminded yesterday that you cannot be all things to all people. You need to find your spot in the market and then work relentlessly to become number one. Otherwise, you flounder and won't be profitable, taking whatever the market has left over for you. Where that came from is if you follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, you would know that we did launch our on-demand service a bunch of weeks ago, took it out of private beta last week after the private beta revealed that we had a lot of work to do. So we got it. My son and I sat down, just sort of pushed our way through all of the challenges, and were able to relaunch and learned a whole bunch. Again, I just can't believe how, as smart as I think I am, that an idea is only that. You really got to get it out into the wild, and you have to see how it performs. And then as you see other people interacting with it, that's when you realize how much work you have to do, or where you really missed the mark in terms of understanding the features that you didn't need, that you thought you did need, and some of the functionality that you hadn't even anticipated needing, that now you got to quickly work to build. So it is out in the public right now. It's working really well. We've got about 36 users that have registered on our platform. We use Stripe as our payment provider. So the idea is that someone who needs, in particular, construction right now, because for our construction business, this was birthed out of needing to satisfy our own demand for laborers. And I thought, you know what, there's probably other businesses that could use the same service. So we spun this thing up. Workers are able to jump in, connect their bank accounts, A job owner like our company can go on, post a job, and at the end of every day, the workers immediately get paid, and just makes life so much easier. And as I was calling, because I'm doing the prospecting and trying to line jobs up for our workforce right now, we have a really great lady. I call her our chief people officer, but she's been with us for years in the construction business, and she's now transitioned over to help me really manage the worker side of the equation, and I'm working the job side right now. But as I was going through our competitor's website, which is something I hadn't done a couple of weeks back when I launched this, I really discovered what makes what we're doing very, very unique. And it just prompted me to be reminded of, we're not trying to service every need in the marketplace. We're not trying to provide workers to every company that needs them. And more importantly, from more of a fundamental business perspective, our end run is not to help a company with their labor problems and then look to get a payout fee when the contract is bought out. We really are just looking to keep workers engaged in meaningful work while they are looking to fill gaps in their own lives and in their own schedules and in their own finances. And we think this is a really great way to do it. So I learned that, and then that changed the kind of pitch I was making to the types of companies that need the kind of workers that we have sitting in the pool right now. And I know that I've gotten lost and sometimes can get overwhelmed by thinking, on the one hand, man, this is a really great idea. And then on the other hand, going, but I'm not the smartest person in the world. There's got to be other people that are doing this. And just that clarity of, okay, let me just grab a cup of coffee and let me really synthesize down what makes us different, and then make sure I speak to that. And in our labor business, just sharing what it is, we list out the price right away. So you can get an instant price. Don't need to talk to anyone. Don't need to fill out a stupid contact us form and wait 3 days for someone to get back to you and send you some sort of PDF with a bunch of information you don't really care about. You just need workers. That's all there is to it. So you're able to get the price. We actually tell you how many workers we have available. That's something I couldn't see anywhere else. And that whole idea of on demand, that's really the key. And again, we need them for our own benefit, as do other companies. And so we've really designed the entire business and the entire application around that. So that's what that tweet was about. Just a reminder that, you can try to service everyone, but then you're going to miss everything, or you can really narrow down into a very, very, very specific, tiny little niche, dominate it, and then grow out from there. That's going to be my strategy. So stay tuned to see how well I do with that. The next little tweet that I had was because I was making sales calls that you don't sell to people, you get them to buy from you. I was listening to a podcast, and that was just a line that stood out. So I just tried to capture that. I had this tweet that just reminded me that launching a startup or two, because that's what I'm doing right now, means getting a chance to try all of the Twitter advice. Over the past couple months, I've really come to enjoy Twitter. It's been something that I've leaned into really hard and tried to understand. And the more you hang out in Twitter, it can be a cesspool for sure, but depending on how you curate your feed and the kind of lists you put together, and the kind of people that you're following, it's really, really a great tool. And I'm meeting some very cool people. I'm hearing amazing stories, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this. It was an inspiration to raise my game because I'm seeing what other people are doing. And I like to think that I could throw my hat in the ring and maybe do a bit of a better job. So the tweet was just about, I was chuckling to myself because I have these two startups. I do follow a lot of startup people, and the advice was, I just get to try all these things that people throw out there as free advice, and it's free, doesn't cost anything, but I do get to try it all, and that's kind of neat. So if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. It's a lot of fun, even if you're just a wallflower. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll just sort of end this episode on a tweet that I had posted a couple days ago. Actually yesterday, that was Monday. And the tweet just said, I love having meaningful work to do. It's great to be in a position to help folks find work, which is our on-demand labor service, and help entrepreneurs build a valuable business, which is the instant business evaluation platform, amongst all of the other tasks that I get to complete today. And I just felt like on a Monday, most folks don't look forward to a Monday, or at least it appears most folks don't look forward to Monday. And I just was, I feel very blessed to do what I do every single day, notwithstanding it's been a lot of work. I think the work is worth it. I think the struggle is worth it. I think the challenges are worth it. I think the stress is worth it. And I know that not everyone is built to do these things. I think we all kind of play our part in the grand scheme of things. This is the part that I get to play. I get to manage portfolio businesses, try to leverage up on my skill set, try to challenge myself every single day, lead from the bottom up, inspire and encourage. And I don't know, sometimes as an entrepreneur, we get stuck in the stress and the anxiety. And certainly I have those moments. Haven't one this week for sure. But at the end of the day, they're what I call, high class problems. Had a warm shower, got a family that loves me. I get to work with my wife every day. I get to recently get to work with my son, which is kind of cool. So when you put all that together, it's nice to have meaningful reasons to get out of bed every day and to do what I do. And I felt just needed to share that out loud. So maybe you need to hear that today. Maybe you've gotten lost in the weeds and you've lost some perspective or some context. So anyway, that's all I've got. I hope that you found this interesting, that you got something out of this. But the real key is let's connect. Jump on Twitter. Let's connect. Let's get a conversation going. Let's connect on LinkedIn if Twitter's not your thing. But I'm doing this partly for self-therapy reasons, therapeutic reasons. And secondly, to actually meet some other entrepreneurs like I was able to do with my podcast. And now I'm trying to up my game by just being a little bit more candid and trying to be a little bit more open in hopes that I get a chance to, I don't know, have an impact on maybe someone else who's trying to do the same thing I am. So thanks for tuning in and make sure you catch the next episode.